All right. So it looks as if we are live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check on Facebook real quick and make sure that we are live.
Yeah, we've got this. Have a look at my screen.
Okay.
We're there.
Is that Facebook?
That is Facebook.
Okay. Well, great. Awesome. Oh, yeah, it's showing. Okay. Awesome. All right. So, well, hold on. Is it showing? Yeah, it is. Okay, great. Awesome. So, hi, you guys. How are y'all doing? This is Michelle and Harry, and we are going to be talking about energy toxins. And so today we are going to have this whole conversation about it. I mean, this is a really interesting topic. Harry and I actually had a really long conversation on the phone about it. And we had so much fun talking about it. We were like, oh my God, this has to be the subject. So Harry, before we even get started, some of the people that know me don't necessarily know you. So why don't you introduce yourself and talk about who you are and what you do and all that good stuff.
Awesome. So let's see, where do we start? Happy Bartholomew, and I'm an energy worker, former Buddhist monk. I did record production for many years, audio engineering for many years, and decided to step away from it.
Get started. Some of the people that know me don't necessarily know you. So why don't you introduce yourself? Sorry about that, Harry.
That's okay.
I was opening up Facebook to see if I could watch the comments and stuff. So when I did that, it because the comments aren't showing up on this new software. See, Harry and I are doing a whole brand new software, so everything's a little complicated for me. So all right, here we go.
Good. Let me
okay, so go back to what you were saying.
So anyway, I stepped away from the audio industry and decided to delve deeper into meditation, deeper into healing. I had some issues going on with my mom, and I decided to start doing healing work to help her. Throughout all this, met some wonderful teachers, and just more and more and more delved into the healing world. Traveling around with both as a monk and with monks, one of the things that we worked on a regular basis was retuning the energy of people's environments. You walk into houses and you instantly feel sick to your stomach. And so we would do certain chanting and certain ritual, and then even things like singing bowls and knowing just what beautiful picture to put in just to give people an idea or give people some warmth. Then you get into the whole feng shui side of it. All of these things were about retuning energy. And so everything that I've done is about retuning energy and identifying energy. So when we started talking about toxic energy, of course, that was, that really hits home because it's what I do 7 days a week is work with toxic energy.
Yeah.
And trying to keep myself clear of it. And I had my own issues in the last couple of months of what happens when you don't clean your own energy well enough. And luckily I'm on the other side of that now, but it's that kind of, so now I'm hitting, this is my 20th year of doing energy work and loving every moment of it.
Oh, well, that is great. So some of you guys that I used to do a whole lot of lives on YouTube and kind of been shifting back over to Facebook. And so this is kind of my thing that I'm going to start doing a lot more. I'm going to be hitting Facebook a lot more and having people like Harry on my channel and, people like him that are very interesting. So this is always really fun for both of us. So Harry, let's why don't you explain exactly what energetic toxicity is? I think that a lot of people don't really know exactly what that is. So I think that that would be interesting to kind of lead into and just say, what is energetic toxicity? Because I think that a lot of people are probably like wondering, is this kind of like energy vampires, or like what exactly is it?
Right. Ooh, and this is a topic that could go on just
I
to
know.
describe it and to define it could go on for hours and hours and hours. But in general, take yourself to a moment where you're having a great day, you're walking around, and you walk into a building and you feel sick to your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
That is energetic toxicity. And when you start to have a conversation with somebody and you suddenly start feeling exhausted, you feel either sick to your stomach or you start feeling nervous all of a sudden, that's energetic toxicity. When you go to a restaurant and you have a wonderful meal, the food tastes good, and suddenly you start getting sick, it's necessarily that there was a bacteria or something was off temperature or anything else like that. It's not necessarily the food itself, but sometimes it's who made the food and what kind of day were they having and what kind of energy were they projecting into the food that they're serving. So it can be all of these things. We deal in so many different aspects of life, and we interact.
Let me interrupt here. I want to ask you a question. So when you're talking about the food, that's really interesting because, you know, in a lot of religions, they believe in blessing the food. And like with Jewish, not a Jew, so I don't really know a lot, but I think that they have like the food that's been, what is it called? Where it's
Sure.
yeah. Doesn't that mean that it's been blessed
Yes,
or prayed on or something like that?
absolutely. And those are, those are either individual products or specific meals. So a kosher meal will have been made with, if memory serves me correctly,
Mm-hmm.
will have been made with things that had been blessed. So when you go to Kroger or when you go to any place and you see certified kosher, it either means that it's been signed off by a rabbi or that it's been blessed by a rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, we still have the energetics of who's preparing it.
So how do you, I mean, so like a lot of, like I said, a lot of religions, they bless the food or they pray over it. Does that fix it? I mean, is there any way, like if you're going out to eat and, you know, and a lot of people in this day and time, we go out to eat a lot. So what can we do about that?
Well, the first thing you can do is be conscious about your food.
Uh-huh.
When the plate comes, do something simple. Just like send love to it. It doesn't have to be a gigantic prayer, and it doesn't have to be a religious experience, but it should be that you send love into the food that you're about to put into your body, so that when you eat it, you receive the love that you've already sent to it. You receive the vibration that you send to it. So what vibration do you want to receive from your food? And this is one of the practices throughout all of these teachers that I've had. One of the main things that they've taught, and it does, some of them actually, whether it went from Reiki or whether it went from pranic healing or whether it went from an organization called Mankind Enlightenment Love, where you're sending universal energy. Take a moment and show gratitude and love for your food and for what you're putting into your body. And it could be as simple as this water.
Uh-huh.
And so every day when I have the water, when I put my water in here, my water, I take a few minutes and I send energy into it. I send love into it, and I thank it for hydrating me, and I thank it for being able to flush toxins out of my body.
Well, it's interesting, I don't remember the guy's name, and I'm terrible with names, so forgive me, you probably know. But there's that Asian guy, he's some kind of research analyst, and he a doctor and a photographer, and he took pictures of water, and then he would put words on it, like I hate you and then take a picture of it and then blow it up, or I love you. And it showed all these really bizarre pictures and how the chemical, the molecules of the water changed based on what you said to it.
Right,
And
Dr. Emoto.
what is his name?
Dr. Emoto.
Yes, I knew
And,
you would know it.
and he passed away. He passed away, I believe it was 2 years ago now. And the people who follow him and all the other researchers, he is still to this day, uh, he's still the number one person in that research. And they're all using his techniques to continue the research.
So it's like you could either bless it, or you could send love to it, or you could pray over it, or you could write on your bottle "I love you" or something like that, and do something that that helps with eliminating, the energy that was actually there because of somebody else's energy. I mean, that's actually kind of scary if you think about it, that you're eating somebody else's energy.
Well, I'm going to take it to a whole different place for a moment.
Okay, go ahead.
But still within that same realm. So we go into the restaurant, we go into to a coffee shop, we go into a library, we go in anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and we go to sit down in a chair. Who sat in that chair before us? What kind of emotions did they have? Were they, were they broke and really sad about their situation? Were they angry? That chair holds a vibration. And so even with something as simple as walking up to that chair, Dr. Hulin, who was the person who helped bring Ho'oponopono along with Joe Vitale to the U.S., he talks about this. Because even if you just simply say, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you," and put that into the chair and clear the chair, you'll see that when you sit down, you have a much different experience than had you not.
Wow, that's so interesting. I never really thought about that. I never thought about putting energy into the chair. I mean, so do you do that? Do you I know you're a Reiki master, so do you put Reiki into everything that you touch? I mean,
So yes, I'm a Reiki master, and I am a teacher of Ho'oponopono, and I am a teacher of many different styles, from what I learned in Thailand, what I learned in India, what I've learned with all of my teachers. So I don't always use the same techniques. I try to feel what's going on. Sometimes it requires a little more energy. Sometimes it requires a little less.
mm-hmm.
But in general, I try to take a moment, and my simplest way is just to say, if you walk up to a chair, touch the chair and say, "I love you." Very simple. All of these extreme techniques, if you truly have the heart, if you've been studying in such a way that you really have the heart of "I love you," those three words can change so much. And those three words make us nervous. You talk to somebody,
I know it does, doesn't it? It does. The thing that people crave the most in the world, the one thing that people crave the absolute most is the thing that they're the scaredest of. Isn't it true? It's like everybody wants to be loved, everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody craves love on some level, some way, and yet it is the thing that scares them the most.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it is something that terrifies us. Yes, we want the love, but we want the love on our terms.
Mm-hmm.
We want the love on our terms. And so if I were to walk up to somebody that I didn't know and shake their hands and say, "I love you," they would probably turn around and run as fast as they possibly could, because it scares people. And this whole thing of, so many people have lost touch with "I love you" as opposed to "I'm in love with you
Mm-hmm.
because I love you. You're my brother. You're my sister. You are another human being. You are another sentient being on this planet. I love you. Doesn't mean I want to see you all the time. It doesn't mean that I want you coming and going, Harry, Harry. but it does mean that
Yeah.
you have a certain respect and a certain love for people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get into this, the one thing is I set out to leave every person that I come into contact with better than how I found them. And that's hard.
Nice. That's really nice.
But that's what we should all be striving to do, is to leave each person in our life, even the person that we don't particularly like, and the person who's causing us the most friction,
Mm-hmm.
try to do something to make their life better than when you found them.
You know, that's so interesting you said that, because, you know, it's so easy to love people that are easy to love, but it is really difficult to love people that are hard to love. And those are the ones that need it the most.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are absolutely the ones that need it the most. And it's really difficult, because the reason I always say, like, one of my main things that I say all the time is hurt people hurt people. So that's just the way it is, because if you're in a state of pain, you're gonna lash out, you know, all the time to everyone, and you're gonna be fearful. And so you're gonna always be in that state, because you're gonna be guarded and, you know, and angry, and that's gonna be projected onto people that are innocent. And so the answer to that is to always love that person. And that's difficult. And most people can't do that. In fact, I think probably 2% of most people in the whole world could do that. I mean, it's very, very difficult.
But it doesn't mean that you have to engage them.
Now, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
And that's one of the things that I have to teach over and over and over again, as well as I think you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that you can love them. You do not have to engage them all the time. And you know, if you're asked a direct question, you don't have to be upset. You can love, you can be happy, you can all of those things. But you don't have to reach out on a daily basis and try to pick at them and try to save them.
You know, what I hear from my clients is, I can't do that, and the reason they don't, and it's not I can, it's I don't want to. You know, that's more of it. You know, they say I can't, but it's really, anytime you know, I always tell people when they say I can't, replace I can't with I choose not to, because there's nothing that you can't do, aside from things that are absolutely outside of your limitations. Like, I'm 5'9", I can't be 5'2", but you know, I mean, maybe I could if I found the right scientist and surgeon and he cut off my legs or something like that. But I mean, even at that, there is circumstances in which you could change that. So, I mean, with technology today, I mean, you can change your sex, you can change your hair color, you can change whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. Right. So, but you know, so I hear people saying that they can't do that, and it's really that they don't want to do it, or they choose not to do it, and they don't want to because they feel like that person doesn't deserve it. Like, not that they don't deserve it from them, but they just don't deserve it, period. Like, most people want them to suffer, and they don't even realize that they're causing themselves to suffer more than they're causing. I mean, because half the time those people have moved on and gone on to their own thing, and they don't really give a shit that you're angry or suffering or hating them or whatever, because they've moved on. They found somebody else. They've got a new job or moved out of state, moved to another country, and they're doing something else that, you know, and they really just don't care. And yet then here we are as human beings holding on to that suffering and just, you know, and when you try to tell somebody let it go, they don't want to let it go, because they feel like by letting it go, they're saying it's okay for them to act like a horrible person. It's, most people don't get that. They don't realize that the letting go is for them, not for the other person.
Well, and even, we go back into just to go into the whole Ho'oponopono for a moment.
Yeah.
100% responsibility for everything in your life. So if there's something that you see in somebody else, if you see suffering in somebody else, if you see something that frustrates you about somebody else, that means it's actually inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
What you see in your experience and what you experience is inside of you, no matter what it is. And boy, that's a hard one to accept.
Oh my God, it is very difficult for people to do that because, when you start telling people to start doing mirror work, where they have to reflect on themselves, like what you don't like about somebody else is something that you don't like about yourself. Oh boy, that's challenging. It's really
sometimes it's deep. Sometimes all you really need to do is to just work on yourself and just clean on yourself. And we have our ways of doing it, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to sit there and point it all out. You can simply clean on it. And by cleaning on it, you can just allow it to leave. And that's the other thing is that, we talk about, once again, energetic toxicity. And it was funny because I listened to some of your talk earlier today. I know earlier this morning, and we were talking about letting go.
Yeah.
And that's just it. We love to hold our stuff. We love to hold our crap. We love to hold our suffering. We love to hold on to everything.
Well, the thing is about that, Harry, is that I was just thinking about this. I was having a conversation right after I did that. I went and I had a client and I was talking to him and about these things. And I said, the reason that people don't let go is because, when you're holding on to something, it's usually because there's a benefit to it, and most people don't really grasp that, but they don't understand that there's a benefit to holding on, which means like, if I stay sad, I'll get attention or somebody will feel sorry for me or maybe I'll get more affection or, there's, believe it or not, people do things like that. There is always a benefit for, people don't, when somebody's ready to let go of it, it's because the benefit, the pros and the cons, the cons outweigh the benefit. And that's usually when they're ready. It's because the suffering becomes too great and it's just not worth holding on to it anymore. Those benefits aren't holding its weight. But most people are holding on to these things because there's a benefit. And kind of going back into the whole toxicity thing, people hold on to their pain because there's a benefit behind it, like physical pain and emotional pain, like physical pain. People hold on to that because, they get attention. People feel sorry for. I mean, have you ever had a conversation with an older person and they start competing over their ailments? I mean, it's really quite funny. It's like, oh, well, I had this kind of surgery and I had that, it's like, they're like trying to one up each other, and it really kind of cracks me up because they're like, it's like, oh, well, I got something better. Oh, well, I've had 2 knee replacements. It's like, whoa, there's a benefit behind their, holding on to that. And, I've seen women that have behaved, like for instance, like sexual molestation. It seems to be, an issue that a lot of women experience. And so they hold on to certain things because those things benefit them. Like some women, they cut themselves off emotionally, like they can't get attached to anybody because that's going to benefit them from getting hurt because somebody won't, and that way no one will hurt them. Or if they become sexually promiscuous, I'm in control of my body. I get to choose, and they're doing that. That's a benefit. Or some people, they gain weight and they see that as, like a barrier to cover that up. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why people hold on to their own energy toxins, physically or emotionally or mentally, because there's, like I said, it's like an old friend and, that you don't want to let go of. It's like, I know what it is. You know, I know what I get from it. It might be really crappy, like an old chair, an old shoe, you know, it's like, it might be crappy, but I know what it's going to do. You know, I've worked it all the kinks out or something like that, you know?
So early on in my Buddhist studies, wonderful master, Prajan Yantra Amaro. He was here in Houston, and he came to do a set of talks, and I was one of maybe 5 Westerners that were in this talk. So most of it was in Thai, but we did have a translator. I was in a lot of pain at that time, and I was much bigger than I am right now. And so after a while, he had stopped talking and somebody else was talking, and he came up to me and sat down right beside me, and he says, you know, I can tell that you want to practice. I can tell you want to do things. And I can tell you're looking and you're searching for an answer or for a practice. So I'm going to give you the most powerful mantra you will ever learn.
Okay. What did he tell you?
And he said, it's very simple. And keep chanting, let go, let go, let go. Because you don't have to know what you're letting go of or why you're letting go, but basically you're infusing your body, you're infusing your aura, you're infusing your consciousness with the thought of letting go. And so he would say over and over again, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you're the worst person ever, just let it go, because it's only their opinion. It has nothing to do with facts. If somebody comes and says, wow, you're the greatest healer, or you're the greatest this or the greatest that, let it go. Once again, it's just an opinion. It's just their perception. And perceptions are a dangerous thing sometimes, because you know we want the validation of other people's perception, and that's just a dangerous place to be. My dear friend and teacher, Master Lim, will say all the time, if you're doing what you do with a pure heart and a pure conscience, don't go to the left or the right. Just stay in the center and do what you do. Some people are going to say you're great. Some people are going to say you're not. But don't let that affect you. You have to be your own rock. You have to be your own consciousness. You have to be your own conscience. If you know what you're doing is correct, then stay right there. And don't hold on. There again, once again, don't hold on. Let go. Let go of the good. Let go of the bad. And the reason we want to let go of all of it, you know, we were talking about law of attraction. I heard you talking earlier about law of attraction. Well, if you hold on to the good and hold on to the good and hold on to the good and hold on to the good, but don't deal with the bad, then you've got this consciousness of fear of lack. And so when the good is coming, acknowledge it.
Right. So that's what I was saying earlier. It's like one of the exercises. I mean, there's a billion different ways to skin a cat. Okay. You know, and so like one of the exercises you can do is you can get up and you look at yourself in the morning and you say to yourself, I am so proud of you for, so you're acknowledging the good. And then you say, and I forgive you for, you know, whatever. And, I think that it's important that we do that, because part of the reason that we develop the toxins within, at least my opinion, I believe that a lot of the reasons that we develop our own internal toxins, you know, the energy toxins that we have, so energy, for you guys who don't really understand, can be a lot of different things. Energy can be a thought form. It can, because your mind and your thoughts are all energy. So your consciousness is energy. And so when you start thinking negative thoughts, you're putting negative toxins into your mind, and then that energy gets transposed into your body. And like, if you ever followed like Louise Hay or something like that, you realize that it ends up manifesting in your body. So if you, most of the reasons that most people that I deal with, their suffering comes from their lack of being able to forgive themselves. But like, there's no way they're ever going to forgive themselves for making a mistake. And that mistake could be anything. I mean, anything. It's, sometimes the mistakes that we make are, really important. Like you may feel like, okay, I did the best I could at the time trying to raise my children, but because I chose to be really strict on them, now they resent me and hate me but I was just trying to protect them, and so you don't want to forgive yourself for that or whatever. I mean, there's so many different things that everybody's got things that they don't want to forgive themselves for. And so you get this lack of self-worth and all that other stuff. So if we could just point out the positive things within ourselves and say, I'm really proud of you for, like, I'll say one. Okay. Okay. I'm really proud of you, Michelle, for figuring out this new technology that I'm using today without freaking out. And I forgive you for stressing out over it. There you go. So, I mean, and sometimes, believe it or not, Harry, people they hold on to those things. So like, just by me doing that, I'm like, why did I stress out over it? It ended up working out just fine, but we will hold on to the stress, and then we add it, and then the pile gets bigger, and then we hold on to that stress, and then we add it, and the pile gets bigger. And just imagine all that stress is energy, and what is it doing to your body?
Absolutely.
And if you think about, I did some study for a while in magnet therapy. And what I think that was probably one of the most interesting things that I learned, was because I learned about the flow in your body and how this side of your body is positive, this side is negative. And it's kind of there's this thing, that happens. You have to have this flow. And when you get, so like on this side, so let's say positive energy in the body is something moving really fast. So like if you cut yourself, all the blood cells, they come running up there and try to scab and heal and stuff like that. So it moves real fast. And so slow is negative energy is slow. So it's like when things slow down and they're not moving, it's not, the flow isn't right. And so when I started to realize that, I realized how, when we are emotionally damaged or whatever, or even physically damaged, you get into a car accident or something, you start getting holes in your meridian filled. Okay. And then somebody else's energy comes in. Let's say they have negative energy that they're projecting, and it comes in on my positive side right here. And so then that vortex just sucks it in. And suddenly I've got an issue with my right shoulder because the energy flow isn't, because it's like positive and negative instead of, it's just crazy how energy can affect us, so much. And if you really think about it, it makes you just not want to leave the house, right?
But we also have to survive in it. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is about. This is about, right. We're trying to help people identify what the toxicity is. Because if you can identify it, mm-hmm. Even if what you think something toxic is not what I think something toxic is. It's toxic to you, or something else is toxic to me, or something that neither one of us thought about is toxic to one of our clients. And so
that is such a good point. That is such a good point, because there's a lot of things that don't affect me and they don't bother me, so it's not toxic to me. And
it's very subjective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about how you interpret it, what your perception is, how do you, what does it mean to you? It's what meaning do you put on that? And right. That makes a huge difference. So
big topic.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list right now to see if we covered what we need to make sure that we cover. Some of the things, like you said, food poisoning, energy poisoning, vitamins, pharmaceuticals, home, TV, news, arguments, money. What energy are we putting into our food? Okay, let's go back to this one. I thought that was part of the whole thing. So energy poisoning through vitamins? What did you mean by
Absolutely. I knew that was going to be an interesting one.
that? Okay, go ahead. Share.
Because the interesting part was that you said vitamins, but you didn't say pharmaceuticals. And you said toxicity through vitamins, but you didn't say toxicity through vitamins and pharmaceuticals. And
Well,
there's an
because
interesting perception.
you put a slash behind it. So I was like, let me look
So
at it. Yeah, you put a slash, and I was thinking that maybe you meant it as separate, but I would see them as, I think of, well, see, this is my perception. So like when I think of vitamins, I think of it's healing my body. It's like I need that vitamin C. I need the vitamins from my from fruits or vegetables or whatever, or even pills,
so
however.
we give vitamins one particular perception, and we give pharmaceuticals another. But within energy, just purely within an energetic standpoint, they were both made in a factory. They both had people working on them, and so they both have the possibility of being toxic before they ever make it to you. And a toxicity that has nothing to do with the vitamin themselves or the pharmaceutical itself. All the people handling it.
You just made me think of something, Harry. I just had like a aha moment. You know how sometimes, okay, years ago I went to this, the Magic Cauldron.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I went in there and I was looking for something. I can't even remember what it was, but I was looking for something that to fix the energy that I felt that I needed fixed at the time for whatever it was. And anyway, so the guy there was like, try some bath salts or something and put it in your bath and do this and da. And so I saw this bar soap and the bar soap, I said, what about this? And he said, well, that's for love. He goes, now he goes, actually, it would probably help you to do that because, loving yourself and getting rid of all of this would be a really good thing. He goes, but don't be surprised if it actually causes you to attract love into your life. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. So I did all the little steps that I was supposed to do and everything. And here's the thing. Those things are handmade by people that are healers. Okay.
Right.
So the aha moment that I had is, how they say the placebo effect. Maybe it's not really a placebo effect. Maybe it's the energy that somebody's putting into it. And that may be just rose petals or something. And it may not have anything that really does anything magical, but the magical point is the energy that person put into it that's actually making that happen. And so it's kind of like when people infuse Reiki into candles or something like that, I think.
Well, an interesting one. I had a client who had been taking the same vitamins, same brand, same everything, but had bought it from different stores. And one of the stores was a Movable Feast. And so everybody over at a Movable Feast, these are people that really do care about everything they carry. And then they found it a little bit cheaper on one of the Amazon stores. And she said, the one that I bought off the Amazon store, it was a sealed bottle. Everything was the same, but it just didn't work as well.
Right, exactly. So people put energy into things. So like you're going and you're talking about the vitamins in a factory and the energy that's being put into that. But then you also have people hand making specific things. And when they put that energy into it, like my mom always says, it's made with love, And so it's like you put that energy into that and suddenly it's like the magical cure of chicken soup. And exactly. You know what I'm saying? It was because it's
chicken soup. Is it the chicken soup or is it the amount of love that went into making the chicken soup?
exactly. I mean, that was the aha moment I had just a second ago. I was like, oh my God, it's not the chicken. It's, it's the chicken before the egg kind of thing. Is it the chicken soup? Is it really? Because it's probably because there's such a metaphor around making chicken soup for people that are sick that you're doing it because you care about that person. And yeah,
Or
wow.
vegan. I know many vegans who make soups for the same thing, and they're making their version of a chicken soup, but it's completely vegan,
Mm-hmm.
not even faux meats. It's just all vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the love that went into chopping the vegetables. It was the love that went into making the broth. All of these things, they do hold a vibration, and so we need to be a little more conscious of what vibration we're putting into our food, what vibration we're putting into our car, what vibration we're putting into our overall experience. There's an interesting one. I'm looking down here, and pharmaceuticals are the same way. Take a moment, just like you did with your food and just like you did with your water. Take a minute and just send the love into your pills and into your pharmaceuticals, into your vitamins. And the pharmaceuticals are there for a purpose. And I try to take as few of them as I possibly can, but if I need them, I need them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take them and just hold them and send love into them and tell them, thank you for coming in to heal my body. Thank you for coming in to bring my body back into homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something. Tell your body what you want it to achieve. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to bring our body back into homeostasis with everything we do, whether it be yoga, whether it be running, whether it be going to an energy healer, listening to a gong bath. All of these things are designed to bring you back into homeostasis, bring your body into the absolute perfect you, the best you that you can become.
Absolutely.
And that's what we all try to do. We try to bring ourselves, we try to help people achieve being the absolute best that they can be. And today, the best is right here. Tomorrow, the best should be right here. And just like teachers and students should always end up being better than their teachers, because the teachers taught you everything that they know, and now you have more time to keep researching it and to keep practicing it and take it to the next level.
Oh, wow. That's interesting that you say that. Huh.
So everything we do, you should always be able to ascend higher than your teachers if you are driven and if you are seeking to become the best you that you can become. And that's why I've learned so many techniques, because one person might need vibrational healing from the gongs and singing bowls. One person might need from sacred geometry. One person might need just some counseling. Some people just need to be heard.
Yeah, some people just need to be heard. You're right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow, that's so interesting. Okay, so let me look over this list to make sure that I've got everything here. So we did the vitamins, now pharmaceuticals, so that I think we kind of covered that. Home, TV, news. Let's do home. So what did you mean by that? Like home, like because we have a negative environment at home, or maybe like you live in a place by yourself. So what do you
home was general. Home was actually a generalized, let's look at everything in our home. So what do we have in our home? We have what we cook, and that's kind of, we've already talked about that. We have our TVs and computers. What are we visually bringing into our experience? What kind of news are we watching, and how do we react to that news? Does that news bring us fear? Because something that I found out a long time ago, talking with different programmers, things like news. The news programming for 6 p.m. is different than the news programming for 10 p.m. because they want to get an emotion from people. And so certain news is there to empower, certain news is there to bring fear, because through fear there is control. And so when you decide what you're going to listen or watch, older people, as much as they may watch TV, they love reading a newspaper. And reading a newspaper and getting the same news from a newspaper as to what you would get on TV is a completely different experience, because on a newspaper or in a magazine, you are able to read with the voice you want to hear. So, you might have been a fan of Walter Cronkite, so you might read the news every day and read it in the voice of Walter Cronkite, because it was a very assured voice. It was a voice of comfort. It was a voice that told you that no matter what I tell you, no matter how many bad things I say right now, I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to make it very tidy in the end. And that was something that he was always able to do. He was able to bring you comfort at the end of his newscast. And that's something that doesn't happen so much right now, because we're in a very reactive world right now. We like reactions. We do everything to get a reaction. And the unfortunate thing is, what reaction are we actually trying to get? So be careful what news you're watching. Take a moment, get online and read your news, and read it with the heart that you want to receive it. We can all hear bad news, but if somebody's sitting there going, well, let's take going to a doctor.
Okay.
To a doctor who says, hey, there's some information I'm going to give you, and you're not going to like it. But we're going to fix it. We're going to do everything that it can to heal the body. And that is, that say somebody has cancer, and you say, hey, we've got techniques, we've got abilities now that we didn't have 10, 20 years ago. We're going to help you beat it. So you're going, okay, well, there's something wrong with me, but I can fix it. And then you go to the next doctor and go, well, you've got blood cancer. And success rate is very high. And probably going to live with it. But we want you to go and do all of these destructive medicine to not live. But people, there are doctors that actually talk like that.
Yeah. I tell you what, and it does make a huge difference, but, and this is the thing is that I haven't been to a doctor. Every time I tell people this, they freak out, but I haven't been to a doctor in like 20 years. And and my daughter asked me the other day, she said, Mom, she goes, I have a question for you. And I said, what's that? And she goes, is the reason that you haven't been to a doctor in 20 years, is it because you're afraid that they're going to tell you something really bad, and then subconsciously you're going to manifest that or not be able to get it out of your system or something like that? And I busted out laughing and I said, oh my God, you're so right. Like, I absolutely will not. I mean, I'll go to a homeopathic, or I do my research and then I find herbs to fix it. Like, I'll go buy the teas for it. I'm constantly doing research to fix whatever issue that comes up with my body. And I absolutely just won't, because I don't want to hear what they have to say, because I do believe that I can heal my own body in a natural way. And so that's just not, I was subjected to having to go, well, I guess this would be going to a doctor. So I got into a car accident, and all the, the whatever you call it, it had the herniated disc, and I had a couple of tears in my shoulder, and because of the tears, I ended up getting a frozen shoulder, and all these things started happening because of all of that. And the doctor so I did have to, because this was part of the thing. I had to go, because of the insurance and stuff, they had to do that. So I went, and the doctor's like, oh no, this is bad. This is really, really bad. You have to have surgery. And then he said that I needed to try to get as much range of motion as I could by doing my exercises, because after the surgery, it's going to even be worse. And I'm going to have to spend a year of, doing all this, physical therapy to get my range of motion back. And I thought for a second, and I said, then why do I have to have the surgery? Because if after the surgery, it's not going to fix it, I'm still going to be a year of physical therapy trying to get the range of motion back. Then what's the purpose? I just don't see it. So what I did was I did a year of physical therapy, and I did my own physical therapy because I went to a physical therapist and they didn't act like they knew what they were talking about or what they were doing. And so I did my duty for a little while going to the physical therapist. And I mean, I just feel like they don't really help you. They're just trying to gather money. And I did a whole lot more myself by, taking my arm and pushing against the wall and stuff like that. And now I've got, now I can get, I've got that range of motion, not 100%, but I mean, it is way better, than it was before. And it's all because of, what I decided that I was going to do and how I was going to heal myself and the energy that I was putting back into my body. I went to healers. I did my own healing as well. I did a lot of different things to work on the energy part so that it would kind of like do the cellular regeneration thing. So I think that it's a very hard thing when people go to a doctor and the doctor's saying all these negative things, because that negative energy gets put into your body. It gets put into your mind, and, it's like, oh, well, you have this. You know how many times years ago, I was told that I had acid reflux years ago. I was in my 20s. And then I was like, okay, well, I have acid reflux, so I need to change my diet on this and do this, and then I'll do my own internal healing and I'll fix it. And I did. And I still to this day do not have acid reflux. And then I met this woman who was talking about her acid reflux, and she was saying, oh, well, this is a lifetime issue, because she wanted to have it. It's like people want their illnesses, Harry. They want to own it. And I did a video a while back on owning your diagnosis. It's like you have to have that. Oh, I have acid reflux. It's like, oh, I have bipolar, or, oh, and all you're doing is putting more toxins into your body energetically and killing yourself off slowly, because you have to own that. It's like, why can't you say, I don't have acid reflux, or I'm healing my acid reflux?
Right.
It blows my mind, and here's the sad thing. You and I were talking the other day on the phone, and we were having such a great time. We were laughing and cutting up, and everything was going great. And I was like, oh my God, we're just like right here on the same level. I don't get those conversations with very many people, You know what I'm saying? It is so funny. I just don't get those kind of conversations, even with the people that I'm the closest to. Like, I'm like, heal your body. My mom is, she has AFib, okay? And she has a pacemaker. And she has had, I don't know how many surgeries on her heart. They've done this thing where they go in through some kind of vascular thing and clear it all out. And then one time they actually stopped her heart and started it back again. They've done all kinds of crazy stuff. And she's had a shoulder replacement, 2 knee replacements, a wrist replacement. She's like the bionic woman. And so after her last thing that she did about a month or so ago, I said, okay, Mom, when is enough? Okay. I said, I've kept my mouth shut because you're buying into this whole Western medicine thing. And I said, at what point are you going to say it's not working? Because you still have AFib. It's still going like this. And she said, well, I was thinking that you and your siblings should have a conversation with the doctor. And I'm like, I don't need a conversation with the doctor. I don't even want to talk to the doctor. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. And she's like, I started telling her that she needed to meditate. and that Buddhist monks all over the world can stop their heart so slow that you could barely hear the beating. Okay. That there's this one called Buddha Boy, and he actually caught, he was able to increase the heat in his body and catch his little smoky thing on fire. And I mean, there's like all the kinds of things that can be done just through the power of the mind. And I was explaining that to her, and she's like, well, I just don't know. I need to talk to the doctor and blah, blah, blah. So when she went in for this last procedure that she had, the anesthesiologist came in and he was talking to her, and he was asking her questions about her history and her surgeries and all this other stuff. And somehow or another, they got into a conversation about possibly stopping all this and not doing this anymore, because she was getting too old to be put under anesthesia so many times. And he said, you might want to consider doing something else. And she goes, well, my daughter's trying to get me to meditate. And she said, well, he goes, well, I meditate every day. And my mom's eyes just bulged out, and she's like, oh, a doctor's telling me that they meditate? Oh my goodness, maybe I should listen. And so anyways, I know. So I was like, so she's like, well, Michelle, you wouldn't believe it. I just have to tell you, I was talking to my anesthesiologist, and he said that he meditates every day, and he said that it would help. And I was just like shaking my head like, okay, you have to hear it from a medical doctor to actually believe this. It was really quite funny. I just got a big kick out of it. But I think that we have to be careful what we hear from people. But it's also, I think, kind of going back to what you said, it's about how you interpret the situation. What meaning do you put behind it? And,
Right.
and, like with TV or something like that, there was years ago, I used to put meaning behind certain things, and there was just absolutely no way I could watch it. And I don't really put a lot of meaning behind stuff like I used to. I mean, most things don't have a lot of meaning. It's, do I like it? Do I not like it? Is it entertaining? Is it not entertaining? Is it affecting me personally? Is it going to alter my life? Is it going to change the way I look at things? That's kind of the way that I kind of take that route, So anyways.
So we talked about TV arguments. So arguments in your home. Your home can hold vibrations. And can we turn down? I'm like hearing myself a second after I talk.
I haven't done anything. Is that on your end? I haven't changed anything. Is it weird? Keep on talking. Let me see if you are echoing.
Hello. Yes.
You're still echoing?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. So maybe because I'm using
headphones,
I don't think I'm using headphones and the connection. But anyway, here, take this off when I'm not listening. When you're not talking, I mean. So any arguments, any conversations that happen in a house are going to get locked into the walls. They're going to get locked into the furniture. That's the experience of bringing them home.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an house, you should do a cleanse to the house. Something simple, whether it be just taking some sage and going through the house, or playing some chanting or some spiritual music, or just opening up the doors and letting the air clear. There's something about that does work.
Actually, that's actually really good idea. Opening up the windows, because you're letting the energy flow out. That's very feng shui kind of, as well. It helps the natural, so like natural energy from like the nature and, anything that comes from Gaia it has such a good, the vibration is very peaceful, like you go to the beach, you're going to feel peaceful. You go on a hiking, you're going to feel peaceful. So that vibration that comes from Gaia is going to cleanse things, because of what it does is it starts, anything that gets that vibration, it starts mimicking Okay, so you open up the windows and you're letting it in, and so that it kind of like that energy flows into your house, and it starts giving it a peaceful, And if you don't believe me, not you, Harry, but other people that are watching, yeah, if you don't believe me, just try this. Go open up every window in your house, and and see how it makes you feel. Like, pay attention to where you felt before, and then open up all the windows in your house, and see how the energy actually shifts in your home just by letting that energy in. I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge difference. I absolutely agree with that. Oh, no, I cannot hear you. What happened? What happened?
I don't know.
Oh, now I can hear you. Okay.
It's breaking the. It's about displacement.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the displacement, you get new air in. It carries everything away. It carries away the negative emotions, the other negative energies that were already in the house.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting, because I was thinking of it. Yeah, I can see that. It's like carrying it away. Yeah. I thought it was like almost like a transmutation type thing. Like, it's altering the vibration, because the energy has to match.
Take it more like dust. You have wind over dust, and it blows the dust away.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's clean there. And it's a very similar process with energy.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to truly transmute the energy, you should do it with another energy, not just the wind coming through. Wind does one, but it doesn't do everything.
So, like, an example of that would be what?
Chanting, going through and taking. I've got a thing called a chukti, which is it's like a bamboo clacker, but you can take a cast iron pan and a wooden spoon and walk through the house and just beat it as hard as you can. Just beat it with everything you have, and make lots of noise, because you're breaking up that energy. And then when you open up the windows, it can blow through. And when it blows through and blows out of the house, and that's why when I'm doing energy cleanses in homes, I ask people, please open up all of your windows and doors while I'm breaking up the energy, because the energy has to have some place to go. When you're in a small environment, you need it to be able to move on, because that's how you make quick changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the fastest possible change. Because when we go into a house, no matter whether it's me or whether it's another feng shui person or the monks, we have only so much time. We can't be there for 8 hours or 10 hours. You might have 2 or 3 hours to do all this work. And so you have to learn how to work efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come home, if you come home and your house doesn't feel right, then the first thing you want to do is open up everything. What else do you do? Take sage or grass, Palo Santo, sandalwood, any of these things to help facilitate an energy breakup and an energy empowerment. Some things like sage.
I like the way that you said that. I like the way you said that. It's an energy breakup and an energy empowerment.
Absolutely.
Because I think that a lot of people get wrapped up in the fact that it has to be sage. And so they're like, oh, I don't have sage. I need to go buy some sage. I mean, you can literally like use incense, and do the same thing, because it has to do with the intent and using a different form of energy. Like you said, that breaks it up. I love that you said that. That was great.
One of the things to break up.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. I just think that some people just get so wrapped up in the fact that the I think that sage works really well on its own, like, so like people that have a difficult time, like moving energy or shifting, they can just walk around like this and it, without you having to put intent into it, it works. But you can still like use a different form if you don't have it, and use the intent to help with breaking that up, like you were saying earlier, different kinds of things that
Well,
you
that's
can
why I say Bailey, because so many people smoke Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
You can take 3 or 4 Bailey, light them on fire, smoke from that, and it clears very, very quickly.
Bailey. Oh, I thought you said something else. Oh, okay, Bailey.
The bay leaf.
The bay leaf.
Yes, like from laurel tree. And so in cooking, you'll get a bag or a jar of the bay leaf herb, and if you burn that, it's very good at clearing negative energy out. So whereas sandalwood is more of an empowerment, Palo Santo is clear, but it's actually more of an empowerment or an empowering wood. So learning the difference, but really being able to do make cookies. I don't eat sweets, but make cookies. The aroma from the cookies, especially if you open up the windows, begins to permeate the air, and it also brings forth an emotion of love. Because
oh my God, that is so true. A lot of like realtors, when they're trying to sell a house, they'll put cookies in the oven because it gives them a sense of homey feeling and stuff like that. That's interesting. You said that. Wow.
So, like the aroma of a house, if you walk into your house and it feels stale, change the aroma. That's why aromatherapy works so well. Yeah. Aromatherapy is such a big, major
and so different kind of scents give a different kind of feeling. And so I think that's, like they extract a different type of feeling from you. Like if you just put an aroma up and you just kind of inhale it, you're like, you can say to yourself, like, what is it that I feel from this? What do I get from this? And that's what's going to end up permeating through and, kind of like becoming a catalyst to moving that energy out. I think these are all really good ideas. I love it. I'm going to have to go do my house now that we talked. I'm burning some incense. I'm going to do this. Well, aromatherapy in my home. Yeah. I burn this stuff in my office all the time. And it's the energy in this room. It's so like when I walk in here, it's like, it just feels so good. Like I don't even have a thought in my brain. Like if I have a space in between clients, I'm just like calm. Like I could be totally stressed out and come in here and sit in this room, shut the door. And, it's because of like you said, it's like I burn the incense. I light the candles. I do burn sage in here. I also still have those little Dalian things that you gave me years ago.
Right.
I forget what they're called, but
these?
No, it's the ones that's like a little square and it's got the little looks like a little piece of thing that's folded up in a little plastic baggie. Like it's a little square. Yeah, you told me they were preyed on by Buddhist monks, like thousands and thousands of Buddhist monks.
Thousands and thousands of times too. Yeah, it is a very powerful mantra in the Buddhist tradition that keeps things clear. And it's a very esoteric teaching, but it works very well.
Well, I created an energy field. So I have all 4 of them around the office, and then I created an energy field that binds them. So, excellent. So like, it's, and I think that makes a difference. I also put some sigils on my doors, as well. And so it's like it's a block of energy. So like, even if somebody has attachments, they can't come into my office. And And so I was dealing with a woman the other day. I know it's off subject, but I was dealing with a woman who actually had an attachment, and we were trying to determine if it was an attachment or a subconscious thing. So because she was experiencing some, like she could hear like with her ear, like somebody saying something, and he was being kind of disruptive and aggressive. And so with his words. And so I was like, well, I've got this thing blocked off in here, so he wouldn't even be able to walk in here. So it was like, and so we had to figure out, like, without allowing him in here, like, how are we going to work with this? How are we going to get rid of this? How are we going to, and so I saw it as sort of like a telephone call, I mean, like that, like you can telephone him, but he's got to talk from out there, It was interesting what we had to do, but yeah, it's really important how, because if you're, that's what I make this place a very sanctuary-ish type place. I mean, everything in this room has a meaning behind it, and it's so important that you do that with your home, with your office, with your environment, with the places that you spend the most time in, because if you don't, then you will be infected by that energy, like you said.
One of the most interesting people come in here to hold balance, my new center. They say all they have to do and feel the healing, and that's because of all of our energy. Because it's also how we keep ourselves protected, how we keep longevity in our own practice. And part of that is just being able to build an environment that makes things work. So that
I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. So, there's one other subject I think that we need to cover, and then we can wrap this up. What do you mean by spiritual toxicity?
So, spiritual toxicity. People get so wrapped up in their individual religions and in their own individual spiritual practice that they become very negative towards anything else that anybody wants to practice, and only they is the way. And so they start projecting that. So there's one aspect of it. It's just this intolerance towards anything about what we're doing, instead of realizing there are multiple ways to get to source, or get to nirvana, or get to heaven, or get to
I agree.
Any of these things. But the other one is all of the negativity that's being spread around the world through the auspice of God or the higher being. There are people that are spreading so much negativity, and then the way that our spiritual people act. In one thing they're saying, "Oh, I love you," and in the next thing they're saying, "Hate this person, hate this." That in itself, when you come out of, let's say you go to church, because that should be the, church or temple or wherever it is, wherever you come to. When you finish doing your practice, you should be just awakened and loving, and it should be the brightest part of your entire week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So many times I've shown up into restaurants that were real close to churches, and the church comes out, and these people come in and they're screaming and they're yelling at the people who are serving them, and they're very angry and they're very unhappy, and it makes you think, what was happening? What happened at that sermon? Because obviously there's a lot of hate flowing through people now, and there's something wrong with that. And it's unfortunate.
Well,
Once again,
I mean, it's not just in churches. It's actually pretty widespread in the medical physical field as well. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, it's anybody who,
well,
honestly, it really has.
Church, temple, practice. You go to do your spiritual practice, wherever that is. When you finish doing your spiritual practice, and whatever that is to you, there should be an empowerment.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I completely agree with that. I mean, I am so on that page completely. You need to walk away feeling like you can conquer the world, or you feel very connected to source, or you feel an immense sense of love. I mean, more than anything, you need to walk away with this I love the whole world attitude. I can do anything. But there's a person that I saw do a video and he claims to be an angel incarnate type person. And yeah, and he was talking about women who wear makeup and all kinds of stuff. I mean, like, oh my God. I mean, he went into, if you go to a doctor, you're not enlightened, or he said, not awakened. He was saying you're not awake. And he's like, here, all you light workers, if you go to a doctor, well, I mean, half of what he said, I don't do anyway, except for wear makeup. But the thing is that, and most of the time I don't wear makeup. I just put it on when I'm doing a show. So that's it. It's all just for everybody else, But anyway, so like most of the stuff he was saying, I don't do anyway. But it's not the point. It's like, I think that it's the state that you're putting people in when you say stuff like that. You're telling them God will not accept you. Source will not accept you. You're not awakened. You're not enlightened. You can't get there because you can't change your behaviors. And it puts a person in a state of hopelessness. And it's like, this is a subject that just really gets my goat, because it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are. It doesn't matter, what kind of guru you are. When judgment gets imposed upon people and a person behaves that way, that is negative toxicity. And I mean, it is the worst type of toxin you can do personally that I can imagine, because it's a person projecting that onto them with no acceptance, and love is acceptance. So,
right.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So that's where spiritual toxicity comes in. Okay. I think that all of the things that the notes that we went over, we kind of covered. Healing the healer. Oh, we didn't cover that one. We were talking about this on the phone, and we were talking about the wounded healer, or did we say it? It was I think it was something like the wounded healer, or something like that. It's sometimes as healers, even, we all are guilty of this. We have our own things, and I don't remember exactly how we went about talking about this, but each one of us have, we're human, and that's why I hate it when people judge, because every single person, even the person that was saying this on this video, is probably got their own shit,
We're healers.
Exactly. We're healers. We're not God. Exactly. We're still human, and we're going to do human things, and we're going to drop something and go, oh crap, and say, I make it very, what is the word? Not really vulnerable. I make it very clear, or I make it very well known that what my vices are, or what I'm about, that kind of thing. Like, I will say cuss words, and I don't care. Like it doesn't, because sometimes you have to say those words to get the meaning across. It's like there's no other meaning. Like if I was to say frickin' instead of fucking, it's gonna sound kind of silly. They're gonna be all like, Michelle, haha. But if you hear me say that word, you're gonna hear it like, oh man, she means business. It's sometimes those words. I mean, people put too much negativity towards that. Like, and this all kind of goes back to the meaning you put behind things. So like the meaning that I put behind those words, those colorful metaphors, is it's an expression that shows my emotion behind it, or my feelings, or, my intent. You see what I'm saying? That's just my thought. And well, yeah, go ahead.
I agree. No, I agree with that. But the connotations that many people put behind those words, because when they learned those words, there was so much anger behind the word. Especially if you say it, it's just candy. F this, F that. But when I was a kid, if somebody said it, and there was usually anger in it. It was it was a word you say eventually. You used it as an explanation when you were very focused on something.
Right.
And now it's part of the conversation. And I'm guilty.
I totally, yeah, exactly. But times have changed and people are not the same anymore. But yeah, but I get that, and I understand that. And but I think that for me, the reason that I do it is because I want people to understand that I'm real, and I'm not fake or trying to put on a show. I am a teacher, and I have mastered a lot of different things, and there's certain things that I haven't mastered, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I'm getting better every day. and
not a perfection.
Say it again.
It is a practice, a perfection.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. So
I want to say one thing real quick, and that was there was something that came across my experience this morning, and it was a saying that I hear a lot. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. And my friend Dr. Joe Vitale, he loves to say, "It is what you experience."
It is what you experience.
It is what you accept.
Oh, what you accept. You're breaking up a little bit, so I apologize.
It's okay.
It is what you accept.
It is what you accept. And I think that's really important for people to understand that things are not just as they are. They are as you accept, because you can always change yourself. You can always change your situations. You can always better your situation. Things are going to go up, go down. People are going to be happy. People are going to be angry. And you can always clear through it. You can always make it better. You can always make yourself the best you can be.
I absolutely agree with that. I love that. And that's actually a really good place to just end, to stop and say, because I think that was a really good statement, and I love that. And it is what you accept. Wow. I really love that. That's going to be like my new mantra. I love that. Thank you so much. So real quick, I'm going to also post this on YouTube as well. So I'll transfer that over, and I'll give you the link to that as well. And perfect. Anyway, so I really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. We should do this again. I'm sure we could come up with a billion things that we could talk about. And this has been a lot of fun for me. So I just go ahead and stay on here for a second, and I'm going to end this broadcast. Okay.
Thank you so much. pleasure it's been.
Thank you. You're awesome.